Long ago, a powerful faction plundered sacred ruins for their resources. They desecrated the divine land, mining its very foundations without a second thought. In response, the Guardians unleashed ancient, terrifying monsters as a form of punishment. These colossal beasts successfully drove the greedy miners from the sacred grounds. Stranded in the human world, the monsters became incompatible with the land, evolving into spiritual beings. Now these spectral entities seek out human hosts, emerging from the most unexpected places. This ancient conflict has now spilled over into the modern era, with storms brewing over the city. Public warnings flash across city screens, alerting citizens to attacks by mutated life forms. Amidst the downpour, life continues as people head towards the city's subway system. A sleek modern train pulls into the station, unaware of the dangers lurking in the rain. Inside the train, the air is thick with the exhaustion and depression of the daily commute. Yet one passenger, a young man, seems completely detached from the oppressive atmosphere. This is Chinshi, a recent graduate using his music as an escape from his new life. Lacking direction and kicked out by his family, he came to Chihuang City to forge his own path. The routine is shattered by the sight of an armored city guard on high alert. A massive, shadowy claw materializes from nowhere, hovering menacingly behind the officer. It belongs to a terrifying, bear-like monster with glowing red eyes that has manifested on the train. A close-up on its drooling maw reveals a horrifying set of razor-sharp teeth. The other commuters are paralyzed with fear, their faces twisted in sheer horror. The sudden lurch of the train and the eruption of panic finally break through Chinshi's headphones. Snapping back to reality, Chinshi glares with raw irritation at the chaos erupting around him. The armored guard lies motionless on the floor, defeated in a pool of dark, unnatural liquid. With a furious roar, the bear-like creature vows to demolish everything in its path. Absolute panic consumes the passengers as they realize they're trapped with a mutated life form. This monster is a human host possessed by an ancient spirit, now completely berserk and driven to destroy. It unleashes its fury on the crowd, while Chinshi watches, stunned by the brutal reality of the attack. A calm, automated voice announces the next station, completely oblivious to the carnage inside. The monster's rampage shatters the train's windows, sending unfortunate passengers flying into the storm. Inside, the remaining commuters are thrown about like rag dolls from the sheer force of the assault. With a deafening screech, the entire train grinds to an emergency stop on the tracks. The train's sudden halt sends the terrified passengers into a desperate stampede for the exits. People are violently shoved aside in the mad scramble, with Chinshi caught in the turbulent wave of panic. Survivors surge towards the doors, their desperate cries for help drowned out by the chaos. The floor is a grim tableau of abandoned belongings and the dark aftermath of the creature's rampage. Chinshi, sweating and wide-eyed, struggles to comprehend the sheer brutality of the situation. The monster now towers over the fallen, roaring its intent to destroy everything, with Chinshi directly in its sights. Its rage-filled face reveals an ancient purpose, a vow to demolish the human world and reclaim its land. Chinshi's fear sharpens into focus as he deduces the creature is a human host, overcome by intense emotion. He spots an escape route only to see his own hand has begun a monstrous transformation. His plan to flee is cut short by the sight of a grandmother protecting her terrified grandchild. In a sudden act of bravery, Chinshi tells the grandmother he'll lure the monster away. He flashes a confident grin, betting his life on his old track and field skills. The scene shifts, revealing the conflict is being watched from afar. A mysterious, powerful entity observes the chaos, having finally found the young man it was searching for. Back on the train, Chinshi successfully provokes the beast, drawing its full attention. He sprints down the carriage, leading the hulking creature on a desperate chase. Looking over his shoulder, he taunts the monster, making sure it follows him and no one else. The creature's red eyes narrow with fury, its singular focus now on annihilating Chinshi. A massive fist plummets down, and Chinshi looks up in sheer wide-eyed terror. He throws up a desperate block, realizing too late that he severely misjudged the monster's speed. Just as the grandmother and child reach safety, she frantically alerts the guards that someone is still trapped inside. A brutal impact sends a jolt of agony through Chinshi as the monster's fist connects. He's violently slammed against the train floor, the force of the blow reverberating through the carriage. Sprawled on the floor and reeling from the hit, the harsh reality of his situation sinks in. The beast sneers in triumph, clearly unimpressed by the human's failed attempt at heroism. Lying defeated, he can only acknowledge his fatal miscalculation. He watches the train doors slide shut, separating him from the survivors he just protected. The world outside vanishes as the doors lock, leaving him trapped alone with the monster. As darkness envelops him, he confronts the terrifying possibility of his own death. On the other side of the doors, the little girl desperately cries for the guards to save the big brother who sacrificed himself for them. Outside, a heavily armed security team leader orders his squad to hold their positions. Back inside the train, a strange, dark energy begins to emanate from Chinshi's body. This mysterious power surges into his hand, which has already started its monstrous transformation. Lying broken on the floor, he can hardly believe his life has taken such a brutal turn. His hand trembles and clenches into a fist, a sign of his refusal to give up. He glares up at the monster, filled with a defiant unwillingness to let his story end here. As his consciousness fades, a powerful memory from his past begins to surface. He remembers his mother's disappointment, calling him a hopeless case for spending his days gaming. He recalls the constant torment from bullies, another infuriating chapter of his past. The memory of rejection stings, reinforcing a lifetime of feeling destined for failure. The bitter taste of defeat and a lifetime of frustration surges through him as he coughs violently. Lying on the floor, he gasps for air, his eyes burning with a desperate, newfound resolve. A single, powerful thought cuts through the pain, a burning desire to win, just for once. The monster raises its fist, ready to crush this last spark of defiance for good. But a brilliant golden aura erupts from Chinshi, effortlessly deflecting the devastating blow. He grits his teeth, channeling all his will into a single unyielding purpose, to live and to win. From his very soul, a colossal, draconic spirit begins to manifest, looming over him. The immense power of the ancient being floods his system in a painful and overwhelming transformation. Within his mind, he comes face to face with the terrifying entity, a monstrous dragon with a sinister grin. His consciousness reels, struggling to process the horrifying vision as an impossible illusion. His fading consciousness dismisses the draconic vision as nothing more than a final, post-mortem illusion. But the ancient spirit's voice echoes in his mind, insisting this is very real and his death will not be so worthless. In the physical world, the dark energy coalesces, forming a sinister, spiky gauntlet around his arm. The transformation spreads rapidly, encasing his neck and face in the same formidable dark plating. Unaware of the change, the bear monster swings its massive fist for a final, devastating blow. Its powerful punch is suddenly stopped cold, met by the unyielding defense of Chinshi's new armored form. The ancient dragon's voice continues, promising to grant him a powerful gift. Now fully transformed, Chinshi stands as a demonic warrior, effortlessly catching the monster's fist. With a menacing grin, his new form reveals that the gift he has been given is hope. The bear creature's face contorts with shock and rage, unable to comprehend this sudden turn of events. With newfound power, Chinshi lands a devastating counterattack, shattering the monster's defenses. His gauntlet then transforms, sprouting sharp, crystalline claws glowing with a sinister red light. The ancient spirit reveals this new weapon is designed to sever the bond between a host and its parasite. He unleashes a swift, decisive slash, aiming to perform a precise spiritual extraction. A flurry of energy arcs through the air as he executes his attack with surgical precision. With a final, triumphant gesture, he declares the human host has been liberated from the spirit's control. The monstrous form dissolves away, revealing the original human falling helplessly to the floor. The man collapses onto the seats, his body convulsing from the violent separation. He reels in agony, the physical toll of the possession leaving him incapacitated. The translucent bear spirit is forcibly expelled from its host, its connection finally broken. In his new armored form, Chinshi greets the disembodied spirit with a chillingly casual smirk. The spectral bear roars in fury, its ethereal form crackling with rage at being cast out. It lunges forward in a desperate final assault, a streak of blue energy aimed at the demonic warrior. Chinshi's transformed foot slams into the train floor, bracing himself with immense power. He effortlessly snatches the attacking spirit from the air, viewing it as nothing more than a high-quality meal. His monstrous jaws unhinge, ready to consume the ancient entity without a moment's hesitation. After devouring the spirit, his demonic form comically inflates, letting out a satisfied howl. He pats his full stomach, a look of smug contentment on his face after absorbing the power. But his satisfaction quickly turns to disgust as he spits out the spirit's lingering essence, finding the taste repulsive. His attention snaps towards the end of the carriage as he senses the approaching security team, his next targets. His demonic gaze locks onto the end of the carriage, identifying the approaching security team. A squad of heavily armed guards advances, their glowing red visors fixed on their target. But a sudden jolt of pain courses through him, causing his powerful form to waver. He realizes with horror that his transformation is unstably receding at the worst possible time. The demonic plating cracks and pulls back, revealing his terrified human face underneath. His formidable, clawed hands begin to shrink and revert as the ancient power abandons him. Catching his reflection in the train window, he sees the monstrous warrior dissolving away. He clutches his head in a panic, completely overwhelmed by the chaotic transformation. Now almost fully human, he frantically questions his new horns, leaving the guards to wonder about his strange cosplay. The security team remains silent, their glowing red eyes analyzing the very confused young man before them. Chinshi glances nervously at the unconscious man, the reality of the situation finally dawning on him. He recoils at the memory of his demonic form violently subduing the host, questioning his own actions. The ancient dragon spirit appears, smugly explaining that it saved his life by forming a parasitic bond. The spirit chides his panic, clarifying that the former host is merely unconscious, not deceased. The security team leader gives the order, and his squad unleashes a barrage from their arm-mounted weapons. Suddenly, Chinshi's body is hijacked, forced into a series of acrobatic dodges against the incoming fire. He realizes with horror that the spirit is controlling his every move, effortlessly evading the tranquilizer darts. The spirit decides a tactical retreat is in order, preparing to blast a path to freedom. A single tranquilizer dart finds its mark, striking him as the spirit notes their imperfect synchronization. Instead of pain, the impact causes a bizarre, ticklish sensation, leaving him flustered as the guards close in. The security leader realizes with shock that their tranquilizer dart has no effect on the target. Changing tactics, he orders his subordinate to use a shock grenade to incapacitate their quarry. The ancient spirit, fully in control, grins with anticipation, ready to take on the new threat. Its glowing yellow eyes narrow with a look of supreme confidence, utterly unfazed by the guards. As the guard launches the grenade, the spirit effortlessly maneuvers Chinshi's body out of the way. With a powerful kick, it sends the grenade flying back towards the stunned security team. The grenade detonates amidst the squad, creating the perfect diversion for a swift escape. A new, authoritative figure arrives, demanding a report from her team on their failed capture. She glares at her subordinate with clear disappointment, unimpressed by their inability to secure the target. Meanwhile, the unconscious former host is approached by a mysterious canine-like figure. Back on the train, the aftermath of the escape is evident through a shattered window. The female commander pressures her canine subordinate for results, who cheekily notes her intimidating posture. The subordinate decides to revert to a more comfortable form for their conversation. The canine creature's jaws unhinge as it begins a startling transformation. Its features warp and shift, painfully contorting into a humanoid shape. The transformation completes, revealing a pale, sharp-featured man with glowing eyes. He casually dresses, explaining his animal form is less intimidating, but she insists his human form shows proper respect. Surveying the damage, they conclude the unstable, newly possessed host couldn't have escaped far. The commander offers the man, Bu Feng, a position, criticizing her own security team, but he humbly deflects the offer. Bu Feng explains that mystics like him have unique powers that make them ill-suited for rigid organizations. Bu Feng interrupts the commander, taking a moment to make himself comfortable. He casually plops down on a train seat, much to his superior's annoyance. The commander scolds him for resting, but he silences her to focus on sensing the target's energy. He cheekily negotiates a higher fee for tracking the fugitive, which she readily agrees to. Closing his eyes, Bu Feng begins to concentrate, his mystical senses reaching out across the city. A powerful smoky aura emanates from him as he extends his consciousness to find his quarry. His mind's eye catches glimpses of different powerful entities moving through the urban landscape. He senses another armored being, distinct and powerful in its own right, active somewhere in the city. His search also reveals a dark, parasitic spirit clinging to yet another unsuspecting individual. The sheer number of powerful beings makes the search difficult, causing him to break out in a sweat from the effort. His mental search leads him directly to the colossal dragon spirit, which glares back with immense power. The psychic pressure is immense, causing Bu Feng to cry out from the strain. The dragon spirit retaliates, invading his senses with a disturbing and invasive psychic probe. Bu Feng recoils in disgust, physically reacting to the invasive mental contact. His face contorts in sheer revulsion at the bizarre and violating sensation. The spirit mentally mocks his tracking abilities, asserting its dominance in their psychic confrontation. Back in reality, a single drop of sweat hits the floor, a testament to the intensity of his mental battle. The commander turns to him, demanding an update on his progress. Her sharp golden eyes narrow, conveying her impatience and high expectations. Exhausted but successful, Bu Feng slumps back and confirms he has located their fugitive. The commander's face twists with alarm as she realizes the psychic toll on her subordinate. Bu Feng finally succumbs to the mental exhaustion, collapsing forward in a cold sweat. As he falls, he commends the fugitive's power while the commander orders medical assistance for him. She grabs him before he hits the ground, desperately demanding the location he fought so hard to find. With his last ounce of strength, Bu Feng reveals the fugitive is hiding in District 9. The effort completely drains him, and he begins to lose consciousness from the strain. The commander takes a moment to absorb the critical intel, her expression hardening with resolve. Wasting no time, she orders her subordinate to pursue, and he crackles with energy, ready for the hunt. Another member of her elite team confirms the order, his gaze fixed on the mission ahead. A powerful surge of energy explodes from the train tracks as the chase officially begins. The commander smirks, confident that no one can outrun her elite team, the Flying Squirrels. The chase blurs into a high-speed streak across the futuristic cityscape. Meanwhile, Chinshi's new demonic form vaults between skyscrapers trying to escape. He argues with the spirit inside him, who declares their bond is now permanent and inseparable. Chinshi complains that the dizzying leaps are making him sick, revealing a crippling fear of heights. The spirit ignores his plea, explaining that the rooftops are the only safe path from magical trackers on the streets. His panic escalates and he screams at the spirit, demanding to be brought down immediately. The ancient entity scolds him for causing a scene while they are still precariously balanced in midair. His frantic struggle causes him to lose his balance, his face twisting in terror. The argument ends abruptly as he plummets from the sky, flailing helplessly towards the streets below. He crashes into a back alley, the impact sending shockwaves through the narrow street. The fall was brutal, and he struggles to his hands and knees, feeling the intense pain. The dragon spirit explains that its exoskeleton cushioned the blow, but now needs time to recover, leaving Chinshi vulnerable. Ignoring the spirit's guidance, he stumbles down the alley, determined to handle things himself. Unseen by him, a clear, viscous substance splashes onto the pavement just behind him. Suddenly, a desperate, disheveled man runs past, pleading with the pursuing guards for mercy. The fugitive sprints right past Chinshi's hiding spot, drawing the attention of the guards. From the shadows, he watches the armored security team rush by, completely focused on their new target. High above, the commander's elite squad, the Flying Squirrels, leap across the rooftops in hot pursuit. The alley falls silent again, the chaos of the chase fading into the distance. He lets out a sigh of relief, thinking the guards were chasing someone else. Peeking from his hiding spot, he cautiously checks if the coast is clear. The spirit directs him towards a shelter, pointing out a distant clock tower as his destination. The spirit warns him that returning home is impossible, as the security division will be tearing it apart. His biggest regret isn't his near-death experience, but the very important private files he failed to delete. The spirit mocks his trivial concerns, finding human priorities utterly ridiculous in the face of danger. But his moment of reflection is cut short as a mysterious figure observes him from a rooftop above. The hooded figure looks up with a confident smirk, revealing himself as another player in this dangerous game. Without warning, he's ambushed by a barrage of energy blasts, which he skillfully deflects. The assault continues as a heavy boot aims a crushing blow directly at his head. He grits his teeth, barely withstanding the force of the surprise attack. His attacker, a figure with glowing red eyes, hangs upside down and orders him to stay put. The mysterious man declares that escape is impossible and Chinshi is now under arrest. With incredible agility, the pursuer flips off a pipe, descending towards the alley floor. He lands with perfect control, a testament to his skill and power. The man offers a choice: cooperate or surrender the spirit inside him and be free. Believing Chinshi will resist, the pursuer prepares to take him down by force. But Chinshi unexpectedly agrees to cooperate, stunning his opponent with his sudden compliance. As the attacker demands his surrender, he realizes Chinshi's idea of cooperation was a ruse. With a crazed grin, Chinshi lunges forward, ready to fight the man he now sees as just another monster. Chinshi's surprise attack is effortlessly caught, his fist meeting an unyielding grip. The attacker's glowing red eyes narrow as he scoffs at the predictable, cheap ploy. The ancient spirit, sensing his resolve, materializes a powerful clawed gauntlet for him to wield. With a look of fierce determination, Chinshi accepts the new power, his eyes glowing with renewed purpose. The pursuer is stunned as the new weapon grants Chinshi the strength to overpower his grip. A powerful shove sends the attacker flying backwards, completely caught off guard by the sudden surge of energy. He lands with cat-like agility, digging his claws into the pavement to halt his momentum. Chinshi excitedly examines his new claw gauntlets, while the spirit inside him corrects his terminology. The dragon spirit proudly explains the gauntlets are a masterpiece crafted by its fellow ancient entities. His patience gone, the pursuer declares the fight over, vowing to enforce a mandatory arrest for the assault. Chinshi's eyes glow with resolve as he refuses to surrender his freedom, a sentiment the spirit inside him shares. He roars a challenge, vowing to fight to the bitter end, now fully energized by the confrontation. The pursuer's red eyes narrow with fury, promising that Chinshi will regret his decision. He launches himself forward in a blindingly fast attack, only to find his target has vanished. The spirit warns of an attack from above as the agile pursuer repositions himself in midair. A powerful kick connects with Chinshi's block, the impact sending a jolt through his arm. The spirit analyzes their opponent's speed and aggression, suggesting a new strategy to counter him. Taking the advice, Chinshi drops into a low stance, channeling energy as he prepares his next move. He successfully deflects another swift kick, meeting the attack with his newly formed clawed gauntlet. Despite the block, the sheer force of the blow sends him hurtling backward into a pile of alley debris. The ancient spirit reassures its host, promising its full support in the fight ahead. Chinshi angrily dismisses the spirit's advice, frustrated that it had to absorb the last blow for him. With no time to argue, the spirit warns of another incoming assault as the pursuer closes in. Scrambling through the trash, Chinshi finds a makeshift weapon, his gaze cold and calculating. He launches the heavy bottle at his opponent, a desperate but well-aimed projectile. The pursuer contemptuously shatters the bottle mid-air, unimpressed by the crude tactic. Stepping through the resulting dust, the attacker's red eyes burn with irritation at the prolonged fight. Fueled by a surge of battle lust, Chinshi roars, his own power flaring as he prepares to engage directly. The two warriors collide in a blinding exchange of blows, their movements too fast for the eye to follow. Their fists meet in a powerful impact, a brutal test of strength between the two combatants. The attacker grunts, straining against the sudden and immense power of Chinshi's gauntlet. He stumbles back, his gear tearing apart as he glares at his opponent with pure fury. Chinshi catches his breath, confidently declaring his new claws are the ultimate weapon. His opponent's rage boils over, unleashing a dark purple aura as he vows to tear Chinshi to shreds. A spectral wolf appears behind him as he realizes Chinshi is also a host to a parasitic spirit. The dragon spirit scoffs, noting the security agency must be desperate to hire outside help. The spirit explains that Chinshi's earlier attack disrupted the delicate balance between the pursuer and his own entity. He reveals Chinshi has severed the concordance, the vital link between the host and his wolf spirit. The incomplete severing unleashes a chaotic storm of energy, causing the attacker immense pain. His face twisting into a feral snarl, he demands Chinshi surrender his spirit or face annihilation. Chinshi recognizes the familiar signs of a full beatification, realizing the pursuer's spirit has now taken complete control. Now fully in command, the spectral wolf launches a blistering, high-speed assault. Now a blur of unrestrained power, the berserk pursuer unleashes a devastating kick. Sent reeling by the impact, he desperately asks the dragon spirit for a tactical opening. Enveloped in a vortex of dark energy, the wolf-possessed fighter closes the distance in a blur. Following the spirit's warning, he spots a massive, swirling attack closing in from his left. The opponent's impossible speed allows him to launch a relentless barrage of attacks from every direction. The ancient dragon spirit materializes, warning that even its own power is being pushed to the breaking point. His opponent crouches low, gathering a tremendous amount of dark energy for another devastating assault. With a look of fierce determination, Chinshi decides to abandon defense and go all in on a final counterattack. He channels immense power into his clawed gauntlets, preparing to meet the attack head-on. With a desperate roar, he launches himself directly into the swirling vortex of dark energy. The dragon spirit lends its power, his eyes blazing with golden light as they synchronize their counter. A brilliant arc of energy deflects the blow, sending him spinning through the air but out of harm's way. The force of the counterattack sends his opponent flying out of the alley and crashing onto a car in the street. Exhausted from the effort, he catches his breath as the dragon spirit smugly notes their improving teamwork. His opponent, now back in control of his body, smirks with a newfound respect for Chinshi's power. A crowd gathers around the aftermath, where the pursuer's impact has left a massive dent in a nearby truck. Taking advantage of the chaos, Chinshi slips away, hiding from the commotion he created. As the onlookers search in confusion for the combatants, he makes a break for it down the now empty alley. Just as he escapes, Chinshi looks up to see his pursuer plummeting back towards him. His eyes widen, realizing the fight he thought was over is about to begin again. The pursuer lands with immense force, now transformed into a monstrous bird-like beast. Channeling his power, Chinshi's eyes glow as he prepares to counter with his own energy-infused claws. The beast lunges forward in a blindingly fast assault, becoming a blur of motion. Chinshi realizes with horror that he was tricked by a mere afterimage of the creature's true speed. Before he can react, the real monster materializes directly behind him, ready to strike. He's caught in a powerful chokehold, completely immobilized by the beast's overwhelming strength. Straining against the unbreakable grip, he recognizes the inescapable hold as a checkmate. He grits his teeth, knowing that his consciousness is about to fade from the pressure. The monstrous pursuer gloats, confident that its victory is assured. Desperate, Chinshi asks the spirit for help, only to learn its protective exoskeleton is still recovering. The harsh reality of his impending defeat washes over him, sweat beading on his face. The dragon spirit begins a solemn farewell, lamenting that their shared purpose was so short-lived. In their final moments, the ancient entity expresses gratitude for their brief but powerful compatibility, but Chinshi's eyes flash with defiance, refusing to accept their surrender so easily. With a surge of new strength, he fights back against the beast's hold, promising to return from whatever comes next. He channels his remaining energy into a single desperate blow that strikes his captor's chest. The pursuer recoils in shock, completely unprepared for this last-ditch counterattack. As the dragon spirit manifests, it marvels at the extreme and reckless power its host just unleashed. Chinshi launches himself into a flying kick, taunting his opponent as the dragon spirit mirrors his attack. The wolf spirit snaps its jaws in a powerful counter, aiming to intercept the incoming assault. The two spirits clash as their hosts engage in a furious exchange of blows. Chinshi's eyes burn with a brilliant blue light, a sign of his deepening connection with the ancient spirit. The pursuer lunges with his own clawed gauntlet, intending to sever the bond between Chinshi and the dragon. Chinshi smirks, irritated that his opponent is using the same tactic he just employed. He unleashes a devastating strike, the impact sending a shockwave through his opponent's body. The pursuer's eyes shift to a glowing blue as a dark aura envelops him, his expression hardening with resolve. He recovers his balance, the dark energy swirling around him as he prepares for the next phase of the fight. His eyes widen in disbelief, completely stunned by the turn of events and his opponent's power. The wolf spirit recoils as Chinshi's powerful counterattack sends the pursuer flying down the alley. The ethereal wolf spirit shows visible strain, shocked by the sudden turn of the battle. Chinshi lands gracefully, the last remnants of his opponent's attack dissolving harmlessly behind him. He acknowledges his risky move succeeded and asks the dragon spirit if it plans to consume their weakened foe. The ancient dragon spirit narrows its eyes, completely uninterested in such a low-quality meal. Leaving his defeated opponent on the ground, Chinshi taunts him before making his escape. With the fight concluded, the mysterious pursuer gets to his feet, deciding not to continue the chase. He clutches his arm, the physical and spiritual toll of the intense fight clearly visible. Slumped on the ground, he bitterly questions whether his mission to capture the fugitive has ended in failure. The heavily armed security team leader arrives on the scene, demanding to know the very same thing from his subordinate. The defeated pursuer furiously orders his team to contact Captain Boo for backup. The security leader questions the pursuer's authority, reminding him who he's supposed to be working for. With a hostile glare, the pursuer declares the security team is not welcome in the 9th District. A silhouette scorched into the wall marks the spot of Chinshi's explosive escape. The scene shifts to a towering skyscraper in the storm-swept city, the heart of the security division. Inside a high-tech command center, officials discuss the rising number of rogue symbiote attacks. The security department's governor, Ming Liang, smugly praises Captain Boo's reputation as the city's hero. The female commander listens with a pensive expression, her thoughts hidden behind a sharp gaze. The 9th District's commander, Zhang Chun, resentfully questions if Captain Boo's team succeeded in their unauthorized pursuit. The female commander coolly clarifies the mission was primarily for data collection, confident the target's capture is inevitable. The governor smirks, finding the mobilization of the entire security department to be overkill for one target. The female commander remains silent, her closed eyes hiding her true thoughts on the matter. Commander Zhang glares, warning that Captain Boo should not overstep his authority in the 9th District. The female commander retorts that Boo is merely testing a new weapon, shocked he was given the governor's new project. A senior officer smugly reminds her that the higher-ups always trust Captain Boo's team. She grits her teeth, visibly frustrated by the political hierarchy and favoritism at play. The senior officer casually dismisses her, turning to leave with his squad for his own duties. Left alone, she simmers in quiet fury, her face cast in shadow. Her contemplation is cut short by a call, which she answers with a weary expression. On the other end, Bufeng offers to help her find the fugitive, but only if she doubles his payment. With his new power, Chinshi vaults through the city, the dragon spirit a shadow of his every move. Back on the streets, he tries to blend into the evening crowd, overwhelmed by the city's noise. A citywide alert flashes on a nearby phone, displaying a wanted list of high-threat symbiote hosts. A curious finger taps the screen, pulling up the details on the newest and most dangerous edition. His profile appears, listing his name, age, and status as an active symbiont host in the 9th District. The dragon spirit mockingly congratulates him on his new celebrity status, a fame he clearly owes to his unwanted partner. His attention is drawn to a notification from a local online forum, buzzing with new posts. His gaze sharpens as he decides to investigate the public's reaction to the city's chaos. He pulls up the forum, his finger hovering over the icon, ready to see the digital fallout. The community board is filled with panicked posts, from claims of haunted houses to fears of family members being possessed by parasites. He scoffs at the bizarre motto of the online forum, which likens itself to a phoenix reborn from ashes. He learns this forum is a vital intel hub, but knows that hiding and gathering information won't be enough to survive. His new goal is clear: find the clock tower shelter and find a way to sever his bond with the dragon spirit. A chilling post reveals another host has been captured, and that communication networks are being shut down. Believing he can avoid detection, he decides to power down his phone to go off the grid. The dragon spirit scoffs, explaining that even a powered-off phone can be traced through cell towers. The harsh reality of their situation hits him as he realizes there's no easy way to hide. Just then, he witnesses another symbiote host being cornered by a squad of armored guards. The cornered individual erupts in a swirl of dark energy, beginning their own monstrous transformation. The transformation completes, revealing another powerful armored warrior ready to face the security team. The newly transformed host glares with cold determination, his yellow eyes fixed on the approaching squad. Without hesitation, the security team unleashes a volley of energy blasts from their weapons. The host's armored body is pelted with dark, spiky projectiles that he easily absorbs. In response, he unleashes a counterattack of spinning bladed projectiles at the guards. The projectiles strike true, overwhelming the squad and leaving them defenseless against his assault. In an instant, the entire squad is neutralized, left scattered and defeated on the crosswalk. But the victory is short-lived as a heavily armored elite guard steps over his fallen comrades. The elite guard charges a massive energy cannon, its blue core glowing with immense power. He unleashes the devastating beam of energy, a brilliant blue streak aimed directly at the symbiote. With impossible agility, the host narrowly evades the powerful blast, proving to be a far greater threat. The host's armor easily absorbs the powerful blue energy blast, neutralizing the attack. The symbiote warrior retaliates, clashing with the elite guard's massive cannon in a blur of motion. Chinshi, now in his demonic form, unleashes a powerful slash that overwhelms his opponent. After the battle, he dismisses the security forces as more of an annoyance than a real threat. He finally reaches his destination, the dilapidated clock tower, a forgotten relic among modern skyscrapers. Inside, he finds the structure has been abandoned for years, a perfect forgotten sanctuary. The dragon spirit assures him this place is a blind spot, making them undetectable to their pursuers. As he explores the ruins, a mysterious figure appears, silhouetted in a brightly lit doorway. The stranger steps forward, his expression grim as he declares that Chinshi's journey is over. A close-up reveals Chinshi's quirky dinosaur slipper, a stark contrast to the tense standoff. The mysterious stranger alerts Chinshi to a strange presence moving within the clock tower. He reveals that the unseen entities are there to welcome their newest guest. The stranger then instructs a bewildered Chinshi to recite a specific incantation. He hesitantly reads the ancient words, a powerful chant for purification and protection. As he speaks, the room explodes with magical energy, sending debris flying everywhere. The stranger explains this is a barrier to seal the shelter from the outside world. A brilliant flash of blue energy confirms the barrier's complete activation. When the light fades, the dilapidated room has been transformed into a pristine living space. From the shadows, several mischievous-looking spectral beings emerge to greet him. The ghostly entities swarm out of a nearby vent, eagerly rushing towards their new resident. Blue, spectral wisps erupt from the floorboards, swirling around his feet. The mysterious stranger gestures, and the ghostly entities swarm towards him. Chinshi is suddenly engulfed by a tidal wave of these strange blue symbiotes. He struggles for air, feeling the crushing pressure of the spectral horde. With a furious roar, he resolves to fight back against the overwhelming welcome party. He pushes back against the tide, a massive spectral entity looming over the swarm. Unleashing a burst of energy, he creates a vortex that repels the ghostly creatures. The stranger coolly remarks that the spirits are interested in his body, but he's already spoken for. Chinshi whirls around, demanding to know who has appeared in the supposedly abandoned tower. The white-haired woman smirks, casually commenting on the difficult life of a symbiote host. The woman's mysterious entrance is ruined as she trips and crashes ungracefully to the floor. She comically laments her lack of grace, her cool demeanor completely shattered by the clumsy fall. Mistaking her for another security agent, Chinshi sees her apparent weakness as his chance to strike. He lunges forward to attack, ignoring the dragon spirit's frantic attempt to warn him off. Her eyes narrow with a dangerous glint, her playful facade instantly vanishing. She effortlessly deflects his spirit-powered attack with a surge of her own immense blue energy. Chinshi finds himself completely immobilized, caught in an unseen and overwhelming force. The woman holds him suspended in midair with a single hand, demonstrating her absolute control. She scolds him for his rudeness, her grip tightening as he strains against her power. The spectral beings frantically try to explain that this woman, Sister Ching, is their protector, leaving Chinshi to stammer out an apology. Her hand clamps down on his demonic form, effortlessly neutralizing his aggressive lunge. Gasping for breath, he recovers from the overwhelming pressure of the spectral swarm. The woman mocks his failed attempt at freedom, prompting him to question if she's also a symbiote host. His own spirit explains the woman is a legendary arts master, over a century old and deserving of respect. The ancient master rises to her feet, her calm demeanor a stark contrast to the chaos she just controlled. A close-up reveals her bare feet, a stark contrast to his own demonic, clawed form. His expression shifts from shock to a cold, calculating defiance as he sizes her up. The woman appraises his human vessel, coolly declaring him a perfect fit to be her new servant. With a smug look, she offers him shelter in exchange for becoming her personal housekeeper. His eyes blaze with indignant fury, silently rejecting her demeaning proposition. The arts master smirks, making it clear that his refusal is not an option. The dragon spirit frantically advises him to be polite, recognizing they have no power here. Ignoring all advice, he lunges forward, recklessly insulting the ancient master's age. She remains completely unfazed by his struggle, unimpressed by his so-called power. Her slender hand easily contains his armored gauntlet, neutralizing his strength completely. Even the ancient dragon spirit is stunned into silence by the woman's absolute dominance. With a single, swift motion, she sends him crashing to the floor, ending his defiance. Pinned to the ground, he glares back, his will unbroken despite the overwhelming force. She calmly presents a small, dark object, her intentions completely unreadable. Before he can react, she forces the mysterious object down his throat. A powerful blow sends him flying backward, the force of the impact radiating through his body. He glares back with pure fury, his defiance burning despite the overwhelming power difference. The arts master calmly reminds him that as a symbiote, he should know his place in this world. She explains all symbiote hosts eventually end up here, offering a sliver of mercy if he begs. The dragon spirit nervously tries to de-escalate, suggesting a more diplomatic approach over tea. But Chinshi erupts, his eyes glowing as he rejects the humiliating offer with righteous anger. He unleashes a powerful claw attack, accusing her of being completely unreasonable. With a flick of her wrist, she effortlessly dismisses his attack and tells him to deal with his own fate. He is suddenly ejected from the clock tower, screaming as he plummets from the sky. Far below, two mysterious armored figures stand waiting, their purpose unknown. One of the figures looks up, his armored face revealing nothing but cold intent. Chinshi's freefall ends abruptly as he crashes directly onto the two waiting figures. He lands in a heap, groaning about his terrible luck and his encounter with the powerful woman. The dragon spirit chides him for angering a potential ally who could have provided vital information. The spirit recalls the woman's immense power, noting she is a legendary protector for all symbiotes. A sudden realization dawns on Chinshi. This ancient master might hold the secret to reversing his transformation. As he recovers, he asks the spirit about the master's preferences, trying to understand her unpredictable nature. His eyes glow with newfound resolve as he decides he must find a way to earn her trust. While running, he realizes his wallet is missing, lost somewhere in the chaos of his recent battles. He stares at the few remaining coins in his palm, the last of his worldly possessions. He tries to make a call, his expression hardening as he listens to the automated tone. An automated message informs him his identity has been restricted, cutting off all his connections. The dragon spirit calmly instructs him to memorize a set of numbers before they lose access. In the distance, he spots security forces apprehending another unfortunate individual. Realizing his phone is a tracking device, he reluctantly prepares to discard his longtime digital companion. With a final, decisive flick, he sends his phone flying into a nearby body of water. The device breaks the surface, sending ripples across the water as he watches from the bank. His only link to his old life sinks into the dark depths, disappearing from sight. A school of curious, metallic-looking fish swarm around the sinking object. At the bottom, the phone's screen suddenly illuminates with an incoming call, drawing the attention of the aquatic life. A bizarre aquatic creature is drawn to the commotion at the bottom of the river. The strange fish-like entity answers the call, holding the phone with a sinister grin. The scene shifts to the city's nightlife, where a satisfied customer leaves a popular host club. Inside, a cheerful maid with cat ears greets her next client with a dazzling smile. She begins a playful ritual, pretending to cast a spell while preparing a special drink. But her performance falters as she momentarily forgets the words to her incantation. She awkwardly tries to cover her mistake, inviting a patron to help her with the spell. Internally, she seethes with frustration at the strange requests, only enduring it to pay off her college debt. The dual pressure of her debt and the customer's behavior pushes her to her breaking point. Her patience finally snaps, and she unleashes her fury on the unsuspecting patron. The maid's sudden outburst throws the entire club into disarray. Her co-workers rush to placate the enraged patron, desperately trying to de-escalate the situation. Fuming, she storms into a back alley, dismissing the clients as worthless. She leans against the cold wall, exhausted by the constant disrespect she endures. Her brief respite is interrupted by a furious call from her manager demanding an explanation. The manager issues a final warning, threatening her with a terrible fate if she fails again. A sinister idea forms in her mind as she agrees to return, viewing the client as a new opportunity. Her eyes gleam with a strange purple light, hinting at a hidden, dangerous power. Surrounded by a spectral aura, she walks back towards the club, no longer just a simple maid. She cozies up to the client with a flirtatious smile, putting her new, sinister plan into motion. The client makes an unwanted advance, but she questions his audacity. She unleashes a strange, scented magic, blaming him for ruining her spell. The man falls completely under her influence, mesmerized by the enchanting aroma. With a predatory gleam in her eyes, she agrees to meet him after her shift. Their rendezvous takes them to a private establishment under the city's neon glow. Inside, the enamored client carries her, completely oblivious to the danger he's in. Her playful facade shatters, revealing a monstrous form as she corrects his mistaken identity. The man lets out a silent scream of pure terror, his fantasy turning into a nightmare. She swiftly strikes him down, ending his advances with a decisive blow. A powerful spectral entity emerges around her as she stands over her defeated target. She scoffs at the meager amount of cash she finds on her victim, clearly disappointed. Rifling through his wallet, she discovers he's an agent for the Security Bureau's intelligence division. Her annoyance grows, realizing she went to all this trouble for a mere low-level agent. Disgusted, she turns her attention to her phone, looking for a new opportunity. An email alert reveals a new high-value bounty, Chinshi, wanted for 120,000 red coins. She recognizes the target as a former college classmate, her shock turning to avarice at the massive reward. Meanwhile, a broken, isolated Chinshi tries to use a public payphone in a desolate alley. He laments his situation, having been rejected by everyone he called for help. He skillfully rolls his last remaining coins between his fingers, contemplating his next move. With only one coin left, the dragon spirit materializes, questioning his now very limited options. He closes his eyes, a faint smile appearing as he racks his brain for one last hope. With a determined sigh, he decides to take a long shot on a number he barely remembers. He dials the payphone, wondering if he's forgotten someone who might still help him. Miles away in an employee dormitory, a phone rings, interrupting a woman washing dishes. His eyes glow as the call connects, while on the other end, his former classmate sees an unknown number. She cautiously answers the phone, asking the mysterious caller to identify themselves. Overjoyed that the call went through, he introduces himself as Chinshi, hoping she remembers him. The woman is stunned, recalling his name from college and a missed call from earlier. A flashback reveals their past acquaintance as she asks why he's calling from an unknown number. He explains he lost his phone in the river, which makes her realize why she missed his previous call. The woman realizes with delight that her fishing plan to lure him in is working perfectly. She recalls their college days, remembering a past connection she now plans to exploit for her own gain. He angrily silences the dragon spirit, frustrated by its interference during the crucial call. Startled by his outburst, she quickly composes herself as he explains his time is limited. He reveals his desperate situation, unknowingly walking right into the trap she's been waiting for. She plays the part of a concerned friend, prompting him to admit he's lost both his wallet and phone. With his options exhausted, he desperately asks if she can lend him some money to survive. He knows he needs the money not just for survival, but to execute a plan to win the trust of the powerful arts master. As he explains his plight, she privately decides to prioritize her own agenda before dealing with him. She agrees to meet, secretly planning to use his capture to get an advance payment from the tracker, Bu Feng. With her plan solidified, she stares out at the city, determined to use this opportunity to pay off her debt and finally be free. She agrees to lend him the money, but her sly expression reveals a hidden agenda as she questions how to deliver it to a fugitive. He suggests a discreet drop-off to keep her safe, but the dragon spirit senses a trap in her easy compliance. She sets the meeting for a deserted warehouse in District 9, a location she claims is perfectly safe for the exchange. The call suddenly disconnects, leaving her staring at her phone in feigned surprise. Frustrated, Chinshi realizes his last coin has run out, cutting the crucial conversation short. Looking out at the city, she coldly reflects that they each have their own goals, and his survival is not her concern. As he walks away, the spirit asks a simple question: why not ask his parents for help? The question strikes a nerve, and his expression darkens with the weight of a painful past. A stark white flash signals the beginning of a grim memory from his youth. A painful memory reveals his parents' constant disapproval, which left him feeling deeply insecure. He recalls always facing his struggles alone, as asking them for help was too guilt-ridden. Tears stream down his face as he admits he can't bear to be a burden to them now. The next morning, sunlight streams under the industrial bridge where he spent the night. He wakes with a weary yawn, unaccustomed to his new, harsh reality. Looking down at the vagrants below, he reflects on the strangeness of his new living situation. His morning is violently interrupted as he's suddenly hoisted into the air, bound by a thick rope. The men who shared the space admit they tied him up while he slept, hoping to turn him in for a reward. His expression twists with fury and revulsion at their desperate betrayal. Their leader coldly justifies their actions, revealing the security bureau is already on its way to collect him. With a defiant glare, Chinshi's eyes glow with power as he scoffs at their pathetic attempt to restrain him. He effortlessly shatters his bonds, unleashing a surge of raw, untamed energy. Landing with a ground-shaking impact, he sends his would-be captors reeling in shock. The dragon spirit materializes behind him, its host feeling invigorated and ready for the day's first fight. Undeterred by his power, the desperate men grab makeshift weapons, refusing to let their bounty escape. One of the men lunges forward, swinging a heavy plank at Chinshi's armored head. The makeshift weapon connects with a loud crack, but fails to even scratch his demonic form. His armored head remains completely unscathed, as the wooden plank shatters into splinters on impact. The attacker stares in disbelief, his crude weapon now nothing but a broken stick in his hands. Realizing a one-on-one fight is hopeless, the rest of the group decides to swarm him all at once. He unleashes a whirlwind of energy, effortlessly sending his attackers flying. Their leader roars, stepping forward to challenge him with a heavy piece of debris. Chinshi lunges forward with blinding speed, his glowing eyes fixed on his target. He easily sidesteps the clumsy swing, delivering a powerful counterblow of his own. The makeshift weapon shatters as the man is sent reeling from the devastating impact. After easily defeating them, he interrogates the terrified leader for directions. With the information he needs, Chinshi leaps away, leaving his would-be captors trembling in fear. His escape is interrupted by a volley of projectiles and a mysterious woman falling from a bridge. As he flees along the riverbank, the woman points him out while the dragon spirit swims alongside him. Beneath the surface, a strange, mustachioed figure with glowing eyes watches the chase unfold. A heavy manhole cover is blasted into the concrete, marking his escape route. To avoid more trouble, he decides to take the sewer tunnels, hoping to stay off the grid. But his presence is immediately detected by the flash of a scanning lens. A security drone zips through the tunnels, its red sensor beam sweeping for any signs of life. The dragon spirit identifies the drone, confirming the security division is already hunting them underground. He realizes the authorities are using new tech and know all the typical escape routes for fugitives like him. The spirit advises him to revert to his human form to conserve energy and be less conspicuous. He questions the limits of his new power, noticing a drain on his internal energy reserves. The spirit explains their symbiotic bond provides sustenance, which is why he hasn't felt hungry despite the constant fighting. Emerging into a back alley, he learns that among spirits, it's a world where the strong simply devour the weak. The spirit explains that weaker entities seek human hosts to avoid being at the bottom of the food chain. It reveals that spirits without a host are simply devoured by more powerful ones in a brutal cycle. The ancient entity cynically compares this brutal hierarchy to the dog-eat-dog world of human society. It likens their bond to humans finding a soulmate, a perfect match of spirit and vessel. Chinshi rejects this notion, shattering the romantic illusion as he vows to reclaim his humanity. The spirit reminds him of their first meeting, where he inadvertently saved it from one of the flying squirrels. It recalls learning about the security division's brutal treatment of symbiotes in a specific community. A flashback shows Chinshi researching this community, his curiosity piqued by the dark rumors. He uncovers a harrowing testimony from a man who endured agonizing experiments by the authorities. The victim reveals that the procedure left him with a fatal illness, his life ruined even after being cured. He scrolls through a public forum, discovering a city bitterly divided over the symbiote crisis. The memory flashes back to his initial hesitation about moving, a choice he made despite the city's dark reputation. He recalls making the decision from the comfort of his old life, completely unaware of the chaos that awaited him. The city was an abandoned territory, now a strange frontier where humans and symbiotes coexist uneasily. But the promise of double the pay was too tempting to resist, sealing his fate with a single decisive click. His research had shown him the grim fate of those who trusted the authorities, a warning he now understands all too well. Back in the present, he arrives at a desolate park, his next objective clear: retrieve the package and find the arts master. The park is a wasteland of shattered monuments, a place that feels both ancient and eerily silent. He wanders through the ruins, questioning the destruction, while the spirit urges him to find a vantage point. His attention is drawn to a colossal, shattered sculpture, where ancient text is carved into its base. He blows away centuries of dust, revealing the ancient carvings beneath. The inscription identifies the ruin as a statue of a creator queen mother, thousands of years old. The spirit explains that humanity's greed toppled the statue, leaving only its head and triggering a catastrophic event. Chinshi's confusion is clear as he tries to understand the meaning behind this rift incident. The shattered face of the statue seems to echo the spirit's words, hinting at a deep connection. A horrifying vision flashes through his mind, a tear in reality teeming with monstrous entities. A pair of intense, glowing eyes from the vision stare back, burning into his memory. He collapses in agony, clutching his head as a spectral aura erupts from his body. As he screams in pain, the dragon spirit roars in unison, sharing its host's sudden torment. In the darkness of his mind, a fragmented memory begins to surface, promising a new revelation. The vision reveals a breathtaking alien world of floating islands and strange creatures, which the spirit identifies as its long-lost home. Suddenly, the vision plunges him into a chaotic brawl between bizarre creatures, with a fierce battle raging at its center. A horde of monstrous beasts stampedes across the battlefield, a chaotic and overwhelming force. He finds himself transformed into a small, horned creature, realizing he's now reliving the dragon spirit's own past. A rival beast ambushes him, and the spirit explains this is a memory of a brutal territorial war for land and dominance. Urged on by its own memory, the spirit tells him to fight and reclaim their ancestral land from the usurper. As he strikes, he's shocked to see his claw is actually the massive paw of a powerful white wolf. The two spectral beasts collide in a furious exchange, their primal powers clashing with incredible force. Locked in a stalemate, the two combatants glare at each other, their battle watched by an audience of other strange entities. The epic battle is suddenly interrupted as the sky shatters, torn apart by crackling energy and mysterious rifts. The two spirits desperately cling to each other as the rift in the sky begins to pull them into its chaotic vortex. The spirit explains they were ultimately torn from their world, dragged through the void by an unstoppable force. Arriving in the human world, they mutated into monstrous forms, summoned to punish humans for plundering sacred resources. The memory flashes to a brutal scene where a smaller creature is overwhelmed by a larger, more ferocious beast. A human miner is sent flying by a powerful strike, completely defenseless against the monstrous onslaught. The vision shifts, and Chinshi finds himself in the body of a miner, urged by a comrade to flee the chaos. A voice in the memory warns him to run, telling him he's no match for the otherworldly invaders. He turns to face a colossal beast, raising his pickaxe in a desperate last-ditch act of defiance. The blow connects with overwhelming force, sending him flying and shattering his defenses. The spirit reveals this conflict escalated, leading to a massive war that devastated the surrounding human settlements. The spirit recalls how they drove off the human invaders, but failed to protect their sacred resources. In the aftermath, the surviving human miners were forced to abandon the devastated site. The memory shows the rift closing, trapping the ancient beasts in the human world forever. With their only way home sealed, the sky over their new world cracked like broken glass. The spirit remembers its own despair, believing its long life had finally reached a bitter end. Back in the miner's body, Chinshi relives the moment of defeat, his life force fading away. His spirit is torn from his body, becoming a spectral observer of his own demise. The released spiritual energy drifts towards other mutated creatures, drawn by a strange new instinct. The spirit explains that all the ancient beasts were forced to shed their physical forms, becoming ethereal entities. Unable to survive in the new atmosphere, they adapted, choosing a ghostly existence over complete annihilation. The vision intensifies, showing him at the heart of a cataclysmic energy blast. His face contorts in a silent scream as the memory overwhelms his senses. A blinding flash of light consumes everything, marking the end of the ancient world. The vision shatters, returning him to the present, staring at the ruined monument. He collapses, clutching his head as the psychic backlash of the memories takes its toll. The spirit explains they were trapped in a dark dimension until a mysterious explosion set them free. It recalls its desperate search for a host, being rejected by every vessel it tried to inhabit. The memory reveals the spirit met a young, vulnerable Chinshi who was saved by a mysterious woman. Chinshi demands to know why the authorities are so relentless, and the spirit clarifies he's not the only target. It reveals a shadowy figure known as the Crimson King is behind the citywide hunt for a sinister Project Seedling. The spirit reveals the Crimson King is the true master of the city, residing in a massive tower. This tower supposedly suppresses the very rift that brought the spirits to this world. The dragon spirit roars in frustration, realizing the arts master hid the existence of other rifts. Chinshi now knows he must confront the master, but decides to first deal with his immediate problems. He arrives at the bustling Beiyang port, ready to meet his former classmate. The scene shifts to a massive skyscraper broadcasting the morning news across the city. In the city center, a public announcement about the symbiote crisis begins to play on large screens. A lead scientist from a biotech firm prepares to release a new research report on symbiotes. The scientist explains that a symbiote's stability is directly linked to the nature of its spirit. He begins to classify spirits into two categories, positive and negative, based on their research. He explains that positive spirits can coexist peacefully, sometimes even helping to balance their host's personality. An official questions if these spirits can heal the human mind, which the scientist likens to the comfort of a pet. In stark contrast, negative spirits are disastrous, overwhelming hosts with weak wills and unleashing their violent nature. He continues that the first sign of a negative spirit's influence is a host's growing sense of unease. An official theorizes that a negative spirit paired with a negative host would create the most dangerous symbiotes on the wanted list. He elaborates that hosts and spirits can influence each other's personalities, much like in volatile human relationships. The broadcast then warns citizens not to resist possession, urging symbiotes to contact authorities to reclaim their humanity. He concludes that regardless of their nature, All spirits transform their hosts into powerful, constantly evolving living weapons. The scene then shifts to the churning waters of Bayang Port, the location for the clandestine meeting. A dilapidated warehouse marked Euro 4 looms in the distance, the designated spot for the dangerous exchange. From a high vantage point, Chinshi is seen arriving at the desolate, pre-arranged meeting spot. He approaches the drop-off point, a bag left on a barrel marked by a small, handwritten note. Believing his old classmate has come through, he picks up the bag, confirming her signal. Instead of money, he finds a spiked bat and an envelope, leaving him completely bewildered. With the dragon spirit looking on, he opens the letter, his expression hardening with suspicion. The note reveals his classmate's betrayal, apologizing for using him and offering only a weapon for his escape. The dragon spirit erupts in fury as Chinshi flushes with shame, realizing the spirit's warning was true. His despair is cut short as he looks up, sensing the ominous shadows of figures waiting in ambush. A mysterious woman and her armored squad reveal themselves, taunting him for walking right into their trap. The blonde woman stares him down with cold confidence, her trap now sprung and her target cornered. His former classmate celebrates receiving her advance payment, her freedom now secured by his capture. From her hiding spot, she watches the confrontation unfold, curious to see what her betrayal has wrought. Despite her actions, she finds herself momentarily flustered, recalling her old crush on him. She resolves to watch how he handles the situation, hoping his struggle will expose the security division's dark side. Without hesitation, Chinshi retaliates, kicking an armored guard with surprising force. His expression hardens with resolve, sweat beading on his face as he prepares for the inevitable fight. The squad leader chastises him for his reckless actions, pointing out the consequences of injuring her team. He defiantly explains they don't understand the full story, revealing the spirit was his savior, not his enemy. Watching from the shadows, his former classmate is unexpectedly moved by his unwavering loyalty to his partner. The squad leader acknowledges his courage but criticizes his impulsiveness, offering to help both him and the spirit. The squad leader watches him with a condescending smirk, unimpressed by his defiance. Chinshi scoffs, refusing to be intimidated by their empty promises of help. His eyes glow as he reveals he already knows about the security division's brutal methods. He accuses them of leaving their cured victims in a state far worse than death. With righteous fury, he demands to know if they take any responsibility for the lives they've destroyed. Surrounded and outgunned, he stands his ground as a dark aura swirls around him. The squad leader counters, questioning if he truly wants to be bound to the spirit forever. She warns that the spirit will learn his every secret, his every thought. With a chilling smile, she explains it will slowly and completely take over his body. Her words strike a nerve, and his eyes widen in horror at the terrifying possibility. The squad leader's words trigger a war in his mind, pitting his desire for humanity against the spirit's fear of being cast into darkness. He screams in torment, overwhelmed by the spirit's terror of a mysterious void. A violent surge of dark energy erupts from him, sending him flying uncontrollably through the air. From her hiding spot, his former classmate watches with alarm, realizing he's on the verge of a complete breakdown. The squad leader prepares a syringe, ready to inject him with an unknown substance. She hesitates, conflicted about using the syringe on the spiraling symbiote host. His betrayer cries out from the shadows, suddenly desperate to stop the squad leader's next move. The leader's psychological attack has pushed Chinshi to a breaking point, caught between two terrible fates. Her eyes glow with a predatory light as she offers him a twisted choice. Trust the monster within or the mercy of the security division. Within his consciousness, ethereal figures beckon him to join them as the dragon spirit pledges its loyalty, leaving the final choice in his hands. Chinshi screams in agony, his mind and body ravaged by the conflicting forces within him. The squad leader watches his breakdown with cold resolve, her syringe poised for a decisive strike. Her plan is suddenly interrupted as his betrayer appears, demanding she halt her actions. The pink-haired woman desperately calls out to Chinshi, trying to snap him out of his spiraling despair. Her voice cuts through the chaos in his mind, forcing him to choose between his humanity and his partner. In a moment of clarity, he makes his decision, choosing to trust the spirit and escape together. The dragon spirit roars as their bond solidifies, their fates now permanently intertwined. Believing it's too late, the squad leader unleashes her own power, summoning spectral entities to overwhelm him. But a blinding surge of energy erupts from Chinshi, his will and the spirit's power finally united. The resulting shockwave sends the squad leader flying, her syringe clattering uselessly to the ground. The syringe shatters midair, its contents spilling uselessly from the force of the blast. He weathers the squad's assault, his dark aura deflecting their coordinated attacks. The squad leader watches in disbelief, realizing the situation has spiraled out of her control. In the chaos, his betrayer is seized by an armored guard, becoming a pawn in the escalating conflict. With glowing purple eyes, Chinshi declares he will never surrender his partner to them. The squad leader reels in shock, unable to comprehend his sudden power-up. His bond with the spirit deepens, unlocking a powerful second form fueled by their mutual trust. He marvels at their complete fusion, feeling a new sense of control over his incredible abilities. A single tear of frustration escapes the squad leader as she realizes her target has just evolved. As his betrayer confesses her motives, the squad leader coldly identifies her as the informant who set the trap. The squad leader taunts her captive, noting the girl's powers are useless against her armored team. Chinshi assesses his new form, contemplating the full extent of his powers and where to begin his assault. With a furious command, the squad leader orders her team to take him down at all costs. He springs into action, effortlessly weaving through a volley of energy blasts from the guards. The security team unleashes a coordinated barrage of bright blue energy, hoping to overwhelm him. Moving at blinding speed, he becomes a blur of purple energy, making him an impossible target. His former classmate shouts a warning about the squad's paralyzing electromagnetic cannons, but he's too fast to track. An elite guard prepares a specialized electromagnetic projectile aiming to incapacitate the swift symbiote. Before she can say more, the informant is gagged, her warning silenced by her captor. With incredible agility, Chinshi vaults over a guard, proving their weapons are no match for his newfound speed. He swiftly neutralizes a guard, his new form proving brutally efficient. The specialized electromagnetic projectile strikes him, a direct hit from the elite guard. But the blast is completely absorbed by his new armor, having no effect whatsoever. The guard holding the informant stares in disbelief, his best weapon rendered useless. Chinshi stands unfazed, his new exoskeleton proving to be an impenetrable defense. Enraged by his resilience, the squad leader orders her team to unleash their full firepower. The entire squad unloads a massive volley of energy, determined to overwhelm him with sheer force. The warehouse erupts in a series of explosions as the coordinated attack tears the building apart. Amid the chaos, a mysterious new figure carrying a massive anchor appears on the rooftop. The newcomer, a strange man with goggles, watches the battle below with keen interest. The goggle-wearing man reports the chaotic scene to his superior, eager to join the fray. Elsewhere, a high-ranking official gives a ruthless order: capture Chinshi's spirit and eliminate all who interfere. Enraged by the chaos in his district, the official crushes a holographic shard and decides to handle the situation personally. Back at the warehouse, a wave of dark energy surges from the epicenter of the battle. The squad leader and her team stare in shock as the powerful aura washes over them. His gagged betrayer watches the scene unfold, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and awe. Chinshi stands confidently amidst the swirling energy, having fully adapted to his new form. With a predatory glint in his eyes and claws extended, he declares it's his turn to attack.